Good.
So I think we are live. Are we? I think so. Let's wait for a moment. I hit the button, but I don't know. Yeah, okay, we are live.
Good.
Hi everyone, Zach Reinhardt here together with the CG Boost team. And today we want to critique some artworks from our last Little Traveler challenge. So yeah, first of all, let's quickly introduce ourselves. So on my right side, left side, I have Egon. Say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Then we have Martin.
Hi there.
We have Marsha.
Hey.
We have Jan.
Hello.
And we have Alan.
Hey, everybody.
So, okay, two things first. Alan is basically new in our team, and he's not here to judge the artworks. He is here to help us a little bit to manage the whole thing. So he might be active in the live chat and replies to your questions. And yeah, so he won't be critiquing the artworks, although he might be capable of. And we have our special guest, Jan van den Hemel. Say hi again, yeah.
Hello.
And he is from the Blender Secrets YouTube channel. You might know him from these very short 1-minute Blender tutorials. They're basically all over the place and pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot for joining in, Jan.
Thank you.
So, okay, one little thing here. Everyone that don't know what we are doing now here, let me add the picture. So we basically run our 3D art challenges nearly every month. The last challenge was running a little bit longer. And here, basically, people submitted still renders for the topic Little Traveler. And yeah, now we are picking a couple of the artworks we received and critique them. That means we're giving feedback on how we think they might be improved. And we have 20 artworks. If you look down in the video description on YouTube, you can see all the names in the order which we will use here to critique the images. And I think without further ado, let's jump right in here. And just checking everything's good, I guess. Okay. All right. The first is by Bjorn. By the way, last time when we tried to pronounce the names from the people, we might laugh a little bit here and there, but not because we are making jokes or fun of the people, just because we might be unable to pronounce their names correctly. So
we were laughing at the inability to pronounce the name. So.
Exactly. So Martin, I think you're an environment guy. Here's some environment. Let's get started here. By the way, when we are in the Melon app or in this Magma app, it's Magma. You can see the names on this little cursors. Here's Martin and so on. But my name won't show up. It's a white cursor when I am talking here. So yeah, feel free to get started.
So yeah, I was looking at this picture now for a while because we had it like in a starting screen, and I think it's a great starting point. What was the name of the author again? Bjorn.
Bjorn.
Yeah, I think it's a great starting point with basically a lot of important pieces for the artwork already there. I would maybe start focusing on the composition a little bit more because it feels kind of like everything important is crammed to the center of the image. So maybe I would push the building a little bit to the left and the girl a little bit to the right, so that basically everything spaces out more properly. And then I would definitely start adding some more details to the scene, like volumetrics, because there doesn't seem to be much atmospheric fog, and maybe work on the grass as well. There's a lot of grass add-ons these days, some even free, right, Alan? So you can, for example, get the free version of Grasswald, and it gives you a perfect like starting point for grass. So that's what I would recommend. Also, the trees look a little bit too simple for my taste, and a few more details on the textures of the girl. So yeah, nice starting point, but I would add more details to it.
Yeah. Jan, what do you think?
One thing I noticed is the grass could use a few more particles. Like you can really see that there are some patches without grass here and there, and there shouldn't be any on the path where she's walking, I think. That's what, and maybe a little bit of flowers, some more variation in vegetation.
I think something that could help there as well is maybe adding a green texture under the grass, which make it look more dense. Yeah. One thing Martin mentioned was the atmospheric fog. I think it helps a lot to make the mountain feel really to be in the distance. Right now it feels as if this is nearly the same height or depth as the building here. So when there's a little bit more fog in the foreground, it will be washed out a bit more, and then it feels as if the image is deeper. Yeah, Egon, do you have anything to add here?
Not too much. I think pretty much has been said, mostly about composition, adding a little bit of details, and maybe the last touch would be to give a little bit more space for the girl. Now she's really fighting with the background. So maybe moving the mountain so her head will be more visible, like the contour, or like making the maybe even the atmospheric effect would help for that. But like separating the hero from the background would be also the nice touch. Otherwise, I think the guys before me mentioned almost everything what could be improved to make it even better. So I think that's pretty it.
Yeah, I think there are maybe two little things I would mention. There could be a little bit more contrast in the image. In general, it looks a little bit flat. And here, yeah, down here we have two shadows, if I'm not mistaken, which looks a bit weird for a daylight scene, because usually here we just have one sun. So we should have just one strong shadow here. I think the sunlight could be a little bit stronger. And maybe changing the composition already helps, but maybe even adding a tree over here could help as well to make the image look a bit nicer, because the meadow is pretty empty over here, or just a small bush here. And as mentioned before, some variations could help a lot. Do this? Yeah. Masha, anything to add?
Yeah, I would probably, just one small thing, would add some more storytelling elements to the character itself, because right now, I mean, the topic of our challenge is little traveler, but we don't have any kind of traveling elements actually on the character. I mean, she doesn't have any bag, any backpack that like maybe she brings with her to like, I don't know, sleep around or anything like this. So, and the backpack really could be used to add more characteristic element to the character also, to explain better what is she doing with why is she traveling and where is she going. And that's it, basically.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, one general thing I haven't mentioned here, we are starting with some random picked artworks from the training arena. Then later on, we will go through some random picks from the pro arena, and then we will also have a look at the highlights and winners from both arenas. So, yeah, just so that you know, we are looking at some training arena entries right now. Okay, I think that's enough for this artwork. Let's
actually, I do want to mention that I asked the community what they thought, and we got some good responses. That Z.KH says he would add a mispass. Woodrow says, as Zach says, details, and Fred mentions the rule of thirds for composition. And I see Woodrow agrees with that.
Yeah.
And Polyline talks about adding lines to help leading elements to where your eye should go. So I feel like those are some good additions from the community.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, when we look over here, the mountain has like this line, the house has this line, and if the mountain would be moved a little bit over here, it may be helped already to lead the attention more to the head, for example. And what we always can do is to add a little bit of highlight light to the head of a character, for example, so it leads the eye directly to this position. Right. So the stream does not go too long. Let's keep on going here. So the next artwork is by Felix Hoppenstedt. Let's zoom in here a bit.
Oh, we talked about this one yesterday.
Yeah. Basically, when we are picking the artworks for the winning entries, we are sitting together, similar as we are doing it right now here, and really talking about the images, what we like, what we don't like. And yeah, in this way, we pick who should win. So it's not just like a point system or something simple like that. So Martin, what have we discussed about this image here?
Yeah, I remember that this one really like works when I look at it from afar, or when I squint my eyes. It has this wonderful atmosphere, but then when I start looking at the details, it quickly like falls apart a little, because especially the foreground, the ground layer, and the dirt. I don't. Oh, I still have a pencil here. So the ground here lacks detail for me. The grass is especially in your face with the lack of detail. And also I have a little problem with, I know that it's motivated by this light here, this lamp, but I have a little problem with these highlights on these grass plates here, because they draw a lot of attention, and you can clearly see that the grass is not detailed at all. So that's something I would actually recommend, that sometimes you can cheat your lighting. And if you can see that, when you put a point light here and it creates this light on your object, you can basically occlude this area here and light it with a different spotlight that only highlights, for example, the rim of the grass, like you have here. So yeah, a lot of cheating with lighting is never a bad idea, especially for still images. Otherwise, the tree is awesome in the background, and the far background atmosphere really works, but the foreground is what ruins it for me, as well as the texture of the character's shell, or the snail's shell.
I think this light up here is actually from the sun, coming in this direction.
Oh, you're right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, but same thing, just it draws too much attention.
Yeah. What I really like about this image is a sense of scale. You can really feel that the tree is huge and we are like very close to the ground. So yeah, good job on that. What I would do here is, or what looks a bit strange to me, is that the sun is glowing back here, but we can see the circle and the God rays are actually not as strong as the sun. So I think I would make everything glow pretty intensely here at this spot, and then like slowly shift over into the God rays, because the sun is pretty bright. So I think it's a little bit too washed out over here. Yeah. Egon.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and what definitely would help, like always, it's a little bit change of composition in the scene. So we have this central tree here, which is really fighting with the snail at this part. So right now I'm like having pretty good camera angle, so I see it from here, but everything is so cramped together, so it's a little bit confusing and busy. I believe that if you would move a tree a little bit to the side, again, we are talking about typical like rule of thirds. So we have the thirds, we will just have it. We will have this focal point here. We'll have this focal point here. So it's going to work this way. And then we can separate also the elements by the light. The tree is a very interesting point in this story. So I would love to see more lights, like if we have these small lanterns on the branches, if they will highlight with the glow the tree a little bit more, we can see much more story what's happening in here on the tree. So that would be the one point of the like our interest. And second one would be again the snail. We have the lantern here, very, very light one. We can illuminate the scene much more in here we have this lantern, we can illuminate the snail. So again, we can pinpoint both elements, the tree and the snail, much more in the scene. We will create a higher contrast, and we will be able to draw the attention right, like from the snail to the tree. So it will be much easier for the viewer to see what's happening. The viewer will not get lost in the many details what we have here, and that way it will be like clear story and clear focal points in this picture.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, but I actually wouldn't put the tree from the center. I think it makes it very interesting and dominant. Maybe just putting the snail more to the side and everything else basically space out. But yeah, good point.
Yeah, is that you actually have this empty space over here that is quite disturbing. So
yeah. What I meant is like the tree itself, like you said, it's a beautiful tree, and I believe it deserves much more attention, that we would see what's happening in there, like those small structures. And I'm a little bit afraid that it's going to compete with the snail, which is also detailed with all the stuff and luggage what we have like on the back. So if we separate those elements just a little bit, that will give us more time for each element, and then we'll have more focus on those.
yeah.
Yeah, but the camera angle, it's so good, so it would be just said not to use it, like to pinpoint the snail and pinpoint the tree.
Jan,
Yeah,
anything?
do you have a... Oh, yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, I think it could easily be improved a lot if but it's already been said, but if the texture on the snail and the shell had a little bit more maybe bump and roughness, would make it look a lot better. It looks a bit blurry now, especially the shell.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I think if the contrast was a little bit stronger, it would help a lot, making the tree, the little lights in the tree more pronounced.
Yeah.
For the rest, it's all been said.
Good. And let's move on to the next one, which is by Fred Wallace. This little cute fellow. So, Masha, you like little cute characters, right?
I love them. Well, I actually like this artwork very much. I mean, it's so cute. It has all these little details. I love it. But of course, there are a few things that could be improved here. The first one that comes to my mind is the flow of the particles we have here. In some points, we have some random particle flow, and in some other points here, it's not about the randomness, but more about the shape. They look really like they were like cut away or something like this. They have a too regular shape over here. And also one more thing is this part here that looks really like the hands of the animal were just like attached to the body, and there is no like a smooth like I've lost the word. Anyway, I think you got it.
Better.
Yeah, exactly. There's a transition, and that's mainly the part I would change here.
Fred is actually in the chat, and he says hi, and that he knows it's not too traveler-like. But yeah.
The creature looks like it had a rough night.
Maybe the dragonfly is a little traveler here.
Maybe.
Jan, maybe you start here.
I think it's cute, and I like that it's not really sure what kind of animal it is. It's they really use their imagination to come up with something original. The thing that I noticed immediately is the eyes look a little bit like they're just kind of glued on, which is a bit strange. And yeah, the transition.
Fred says, but yeah.
Okay.
It's a platypus.
You don't see a lot of those in Belgium, so I don't know. But yeah, maybe the hair particles could be groomed a little bit better, like Masha said.
Egon, anything to add here?
Yeah, I was having this one as my one of my picks as well, and then I was kind of confused if it's a traveler or like a lost toy in the woods, because it's just nicely done with some small flaws, of course, but like we are in training arena, it looks so cool, and I wasn't sure about the story here. Yeah, the materials are convincing, and I was kind of confused that this platypus, it has like very toyish fur, because you can see like it's a plush toy or something like that, and at the same time the beacon and the hands or paws, how we call it, they look like a real animal. So it was kind of confusing that those two worlds are somehow connected. So I wasn't sure if it's animal or toy, and so most of it, my problem was here, like confusion about the story. Is it toy? Is it real animal? What's really happening in the scene? Like technically, it's pretty fine work, like for a training arena, one of the good ones here. But I was kind of lost in this one, so I wasn't sure if I can like really support it more.
Yeah, I actually also like the background. Pretty good work there, I think. Lighting works as well, in my opinion. Composition-wise, it's also fine. Nothing that pops into my eye too major. And yeah, as mentioned, I think what could work here is to add a little backpack, which would probably immediately add the little traveler vibe to the image.
Yeah, that would probably convince me.
But yeah, other than that, I think it's pretty cool.
Oh, by the way, what is that part here? It feels like the light stopped at some point. Is interrupted.
It looks like some 2D fragment from the God rays. It's something similar is here. Like it ends abruptly.
What is like a cone shape, like from the God rays, and it's ending too early.
Fred says he knows what it is. I guess
what is it? Fred, tell us.
Tell us.
Yeah.
But I mean, apart from like the
volumes with the mission.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Apart from the weird, I think the subsurface scattering of the beak and the hands and feet is a little off-putting, but otherwise, even with the flaws that we mentioned, it still is cute. It still works.
Yeah, it looks very cool.
Great work, Fred. So let's move on to the next one, which is by Levi Eppley. This one here.
It's a tough one.
So I think it's a great artwork. I just want to mention one thing. It's so blurry.
Yeah.
So you have all these nice details. I think that the materials of the crab looks fantastic, but everything is blurry. Like even the crab is blurry. The whole background is blurry. The foreground is blurry. So you can't really see all these nice details, which is really a shame, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other little thing is that the mountain here in the background is a little bit too washed out compared to like the white clouds here. So it's a little bit hard to see. So maybe make the contrast a little bit higher between the clouds and the mountain. That would be my comments here. Jan, what do you think?
I think of all the images, this one is a good example of one that really has a clear story. Like you can clearly see that it's his goal to maybe climb that mountain or something, which is something that was missing in some other images. So I think that's pretty good. I think if it was a short film, it would really work.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. And yeah, it's a good use of foreground, middle ground, background also. For the
I love the details on the crab.
The crab material is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
Martin, anything here? Environment?
Well, apart from that, like Jan mentioned, that it works overall. It looks like a really nice frame from a movie or like an animated short. To two things that bother me. I will focus on two little details that always come to mind when I see this one. It's one thing. One thing is this top of the mountain. I really don't like how it basically hangs like this. I think that wouldn't really happen with a real mountain, and it really draws my eye, especially because it's on this point where there is this contrast of dark and bright. So that pulls the eye, and I would just cut it off in 2D post-production, for example. And the second thing is that this little hook basically touches in the composition the mushroom in the background, and it also pulls me off a little bit because it's like one of those composition errors that you can make is basically objects in different depths of your scene are touching with just the edges, and it doesn't feel good. So
Yeah.
I would push the mushroom or push the hook, that doesn't matter what, but definitely separate it. So that's just two little things that always come to mind.
Yeah. Egon, do you have anything to add?
Not too much. I just remember that we discussed this one a lot, that it could be great. Just the focus was putting it off the real competition. I was having a little bit issue with those two yellowish hills here. Oh, I don't have the right color, or what's happening? Just a second, my brush doesn't work because I don't have a brush. Yes. Yeah, I'm a little bit here, puzzled because it's like Martin said, it's touching the object. So we are having pretty good shape defined here, I would say. But the part here, it's a little bit like blending together. So maybe if we get rid of the part of the hill, it might help to define the crab a little bit better. But that's just minor thing, I think. Beautiful color palette, pretty good contrast, nice feel of the distance in the scene, just a little bit of problem with the focus. And I think it could be a perfect work, this one.
Yeah. Someone in the comments mentioned that it looks as if the crab is hovering a bit because the contact shadows are hard to see. I mean, they are there if you look closely, but yeah, could maybe be a little bit darker to make it look better connected to the ground. Yeah?
Yeah.
Have I missed anyone? Masha, anything here?
Yeah, just one minor thing. I feel like in this area, there's some lack of contrast between the forest, like the trees and the backpack. And this could be easily fixed by simply moving the backpack a bit more to a lower position. And in this way, you have like a part of crab that is red that will be nicely in contrast with all the trees, and that would look great. So except for this, like, great work. I love it.
Great. Some people are asking how to support the channel. I think the best way is to just like comment, like, and share the videos, which would be best to support the channel, I think. And financially wise, you can always jump into our courses on cgboost.com. This is basically supporting the entire team here. So yeah, let's clean this up and get to the next one. Masha, I think there are some things left here. So the next one is by, which one had we? Okay, Panfilova Y, I think. So some of the artworks were from email replies. So basically a few days before we start our live stream here, I send out an email, and then you have the chance to reply if you participated in the challenge. And then we will pick 5 people from all the replies that will land here. So you have basically direct control, or at least a good chance to land in the live stream. I think she was also one of them here. So, Jan, do you have anything here?
I think the diffuse, the color channels of the textures could have a little bit more variation, especially the snakes. It's just the same color brownish purple. I think a little bit of variation there would make it more interesting. Same for the little bird chick. Yeah, the sand texture. I don't know. Maybe with a photographic texture would be better, but of course it's meant to be stylized. Yeah, it's cute though.
It's like a mesh of stylized and realistic, with the trees are
Yeah.
realistic.
That's right.
Yeah, because you
always
have all
good
these
to-
realistic elements like
Yeah,
Yeah, just the color and the texture of the snake. It's not entirely sure for me if that's a live snake or some kind of stone, like sculpture or something.
I mean, storytelling wise, I think it should be a real living snake, because like the
Probably.
bird is like hopping out of the egg and then running away, I think. I think for me, what's a little bit confusing is the different sizes of all the objects in the scene. I think the brick wall, maybe this should be a brick wall, is relatively small. Also, like the snake is relatively big, but then we have these relatively tiny trees and grass elements. Here again, we have these tiny brick wall, and then it feels as if this chicken thing is huge, right? So I think this would be like a relatively easy fix to try to scale things according to the real world scale, meaning making this smaller. I mean, you can have it this size in the screen, but then you have to scale everything else up, like make the wall much bigger here on the side, make the grass stuff bigger, I think. This already
I'm also
help.
not really sure what's going on with these like things. Are
I
those
think it's
clouds?
mountains.
Mountains? Clouds?
Yeah, I
Mountains
Right.
generated with an anti-landscape, I guess.
Martin,
With a little
how
bit
can we easily
low
improve
resolution.
some mountains?
Ah, damn. Well, with Ant Landscape, you can't really do it easily. But no, you can add more resolution in ANT Landscape if indeed this was done in ANT Landscape. Or you can basically, that's what I wanted to suggest, because it seems some of the trees are from some library of trees. So it's always a good thing if you are already using library assets to use them all the way. So you can use some mountains that are, for example, or on Blend Swap, but there are also a lot of mountains free on the internet. You can just search. You can use Kitbash for the distant buildings. Some mega scans for the foreground sand texture. So yeah, if you are already using these elements, you can go all the way. Then of course it wouldn't fit the stylized characters, so that's always like a balance. Should you make everything stylized or not? We know that I think in one of the entries there was this great mix. In the final entries there was this great mix of stylized character and realistic nature. So, for example, for Pixar it works, but still it's a lot of work to balance this, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you have this kind of mix, you anyway have this like very bright stylized colors. You don't have like the grayish tones or things like this usually. Or I don't know, it's kind of hard to do
looks
this
a
kind
bit
of
like-
mixes.
It looks a bit like Apocalypse scene.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everything is in dust and grayish, and the city looks pretty dead in the background. Also, we have all this desert around here. So maybe the
Yeah.
lighting could be a bit more friendly and pop. And I mean, maybe it should be like a dangerous scene with a snake and everything. So hard to tell here, because the chicken thing looks so funny and cute. But then we have this like dead and evil environment.
Yeah.
By the way, there's this chicken in the background with the
Yeah.
legs sticking out.
Yeah, what's going on there?
That's awesome.
All right,
Just
Egon.
poked out of the egg.
Yeah, well, you just mentioned the color palette here. It's I cannot say anything else. It's kind of killing me. it's a very depressive color set. So even if it's dangerous situation, I would just choose a little bit different color palette to give it maybe a sense of danger, but not that depressive like post-nuke landscape or something. That's one thing, the color palette, which really struck me in the eyes from the very beginning. And the second is if we have a story, which I believe we have a story, I'm really bothered by these elements here, even if it's mountains, even if they're improved. What would be cool to really draw the attention, even use the mountains, but pointing the lines, so everything will draw your eye right towards the character. And here behind, we can continue maybe with the landscape of the city again, or we can just skip it completely. But definitely, we would need to give some space to pop out this hero here. It's something which is central, like everything goes around this chicken running somewhere, maybe in danger. But definitely, we would not need to give it some space to breathe. So I would definitely open it around. Maybe we can have stronger light, so we can even cast some light from this direction, draw more shadows, so pop it even more. And that way we also put all the attention to the chicken and plus the snake. And with the snake, I'm not 100% sure if it's alive or if it's some like rusty sculpture. So giving a different texture would also help, because then we would believe that there is some kind of the danger. It's not only some remnant of the past here. But definitely opening the horizon and a different color palette would help a lot here.
Yeah. All right. Great. Then clean up your lines there, Egon, and we move over to a couple of...
Clean up your mess.
And done.
We're moving over to some artworks from the Pro Arena, 5 artworks, which we picked like randomly or from the emails. First, we start with Chantal Prentice. This one here. We had Chantal in the last live stream, but there she was one of the winning artworks. So this is why she appeared here. She replied on the emails. So this is why we have her again. And Masha, what do you say here?
I think the scene itself, it's very cool. You have all these nice details, and the characters are very well done, and everything is very cool. But we have very, very little contrast, and for this reason, we kind of lose many, many details. Like these small creatures here, this guys here, they are so cute, they are so nice, but they are like very get lost into the green, all the green things we have all over the places. So it could be very cool to have a bit more contrasty colors here, maybe some red color. If these characters were like something red, this would help a lot, like something like this. I don't know, they would stand out very much from the background. And the same thing for the clothes of the characters that are very bright, and they can easily get confused with the bright background. So we don't have so much contrast with the background in this case, exactly like we had with these characters here. So that's my main critique. The artwork is great, but some more contrast would be cool. And yeah,
it's really, when you squint your eyes, all the characters nearly disappear except like the little dark spots of this character here. But these completely disappear, and all the white parts of the character also disappear, which is really a shame, because I also think the artwork in general is great. Also, the composition is nice. I think it's nicely framed with all these elements around here. So we can easily see here, we have like the god rays, we have the branch is pointing here. And it's really well balanced, but everything is super green. Also from the tint, I think it's a bit too much green, in my opinion. Maybe reducing the green a little bit might help here as well. But apart from what Marsha mentioned, I think it's a pretty great artwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyone else want to mention something?
What bothers me a little is this space over here. It could use a bit more details there. It kind of draws my eye, but again, that's one of those tiny details that I need to mention. And on the other hand, I like the use of the chromatic aberration, which is really like soft on the edges of the artwork. And also the atmosphere is lovely with little particles in the air, and the god rays are decently blended in, so very, very softly, and it's not in your face. So that's what I really like about it. The atmosphere of the nature and everything is awesome. I think there's a little bit of detail lacking in the background behind the character, but there's so much haze there that it doesn't even matter. But I feel like there's some door here, and this top of the mountain is very, it doesn't have any bumpy areas like this. It is basically just a straight line that looks a little artificial. But yeah, as mentioned, this is a great one with... I actually would be for making the characters blue because red would seem kind of aggressive, but that's just me.
Maybe orange or...
Oh, maybe. Yeah, even orange.
At least something more contrasty to green.
Yeah.
Egon or Jan, anything?
No, all set.
Yeah.
I pulled this image into Photoshop to see if I could play with the colors a bit. And if you just make it a little bit more magenta, so away from the green, then it immediately looks a lot more balanced in terms of the colors. It's very green. And that actually, even just making the whole image a bit less green makes the little characters pop out more.
Okay.
So,
nice. Yeah, unfortunately here in this app we can't change the colors, which is a shame, but yeah, you can try it out. All right, let's go to the next one.
Thomas from the community also says he did the same in Photoshop.
Yeah.
So the same thing.
So the next one is by Corin Mccluskey, something like that. So I saw that he somewhere mentioned, I think on Twitter, that the image was not finished. So yeah, we might consider this when critiquing. So Jan, maybe you want to say something here.
I really like the area in the background, I guess, with the roots of the tree and all the little details on that with the moss and the mushrooms. That looks really good. I think could have some more detail in the foreground, the ground especially, and those. Oh, let me show you these things. Could have a little bit more, I don't know, roughness and bump maybe. Same with the ground. I think it has some good storytelling elements. I like the details of the backpack and the little mite creature, I guess. Yeah,
I think one little thing here again is basically similar as what we mentioned before, that maybe it would help to move the whole character a little bit to the side, or maybe even move the entire tree a little bit to the side so that the character is sitting more in front of the blue whitish background, so we can better read the silhouette, because right now the green parts here are intersecting a bit, and when you squint your eyes you can't really see the silhouette of the character, so it's merging a bit too much into the background, I think. Yeah.
Those are some muscular looking legs. Or is that the pants? I can't tell. But
Yeah,
I wish I had legs like
Probably
that.
pants.
Okay.
Probably pants. I think it strangely reminds me of like loading screens for old RPG games from 90s. It has this slightly desaturated and slightly artificial vibe, and I kind of like it. But definitely, somebody in the chat, somebody mentioned that the colors could definitely go with more saturation, and that would improve it a lot. By the way, are these matches? Yeah, it is. Bridge
Yeah.
from matches. Interesting.
Burn
But I
one.
like the fantasy part of it, and the creature here is something I really like. So yeah, with a bit more atmosphere and maybe more dramatic lighting and colors, it would definitely pop out more.
Yeah. Might be even interesting to see the gap between the tree and the foreground a bit better with like the bridge to see how dangerous this is.
Yeah.
Because right now you can't really feel that there's like this deep
Yeah. And
canyon things.
the bridge cables are connected to the burns part of the matches, so I wouldn't trust that bridge.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of danger, we have this part
yeah.
here where we can see the spider popping out, but it's actually
Oh.
not really noticeable. So I would
No.
try
Yeah.
to give this part a bit more attention.
Yeah. Maybe you could just move the whole thing down to somewhere here
Yeah.
and make the creature peek up over here so you can better see it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice at all.
I was wondering the whole time, why does the mushroom have teeth?
Or instead of a mushroom, you could have like a translucent leaf.
Yeah,
And
true.
then you could see the spiders through it.
The silhouette would be
You
cool.
could see the silhouette.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Something like that.
Egon, do you have anything here?
Yeah, it's mostly about the scene layout and the composition. There are like, for me, a lot of things are fighting together. All the lines, like you mentioned, this one, but also I'm having troubles like with this line and this line, which also, as you mentioned as well, if you move the elements to sides, if the tree is a little bit like here and the traveler is here, that would definitely help. Also, the camera angle would really help if the bridge goes this way. And then you would see that you have to climb up, because right now I have a feeling that you are lower than the tree. So it would be cool if you see really that dangerous path, that rope bridge is going there, like small details like connecting the ropes. It's just minor stuff. We can forgive it for now, but definitely the layout. Right now, it took me a while to orient in the scene because everything is like well blended. All the lines here, hero here, then tree here, matches and everything. So definitely some little bit different layout, or maybe camera angle would help. Just if we move the camera to the right a little bit, and we will just turn it a little bit back, then we might get better angles. That the bridge will be coming from here. The tree will be moved all the way to the left side, so that would help. Also, this I would say grass fence would also disappear on the right side. So that would be a quick way how to fix it.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, one last thing. I had in mind that we are emerging from some kind of forest or something, and that the next level of the story is this plateau with a tree. So maybe having this whole area where we are standing now a little bit darker, like framing it out, then we would have like a nice visual lead with a brighter area here. That we need to go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that maybe also having a bit more space and moving the camera a bit to the back would be nice, because we have these parts here that almost look like there are some like missing parts, missing spots, and there are not enough space for everything. Yeah.
Agreed. Extending it down like this would help.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Somebody in the chat, Woodrow, mentioned Abe's Odyssey, a game.
No, I love that
it
one.
has a yes, and it has a certain similar vibe, the 3D graphics of it, to this piece. So that's funny.
That's true. Awesome. So let's go to the next one. Still Pro Arena from Filipherold Skrha, I think, something like that. That one, we talked about this one when discussing the winners quite a bit, because we all loved the artwork in general, especially the character design was pretty awesome, or is pretty awesome, and all the little like story details, like this little pink bear here, or the girl riding the zombie, or this little creepy dog kind of creature. But I think we all agreed that the composition or object placement was a bit wrong.
I need it extended like this.
Yeah, like if I zoom back a little bit here.
What's happening here.
Yeah, either do this, or we could also move the entire creature thing a little bit more to this side. So the problem here, if you undo your stuff, Martin.
Yeah, sorry. But I like it.
Yeah, I like it also. The problem here is that we have so much empty space over here, and all the heavy objects, let's say, are on the right side of the image, and it's pretty close to the edge here. So it somehow feels unbalanced. This, I think, for me, is the major thing. Otherwise, it's a fantastic artwork.
Yeah.
Egon.
Yeah, that was one of the my favorite ones. Unfortunately, some flaws couldn't push it a little bit further in the competition. It's like nice example how to use the stylized graphic, like Tim Burton style. The color palette, it's awesome. Those colors are like all unnatural, and still you believe it because it's typically an animated movie, featured movie. You want to see this way. Everything is like that is greenish or bluish tones. Everything what is magical is purplish. So the color palette here is awesome. The lighting, it's very nice. It's separating the character from the left. So we are having this light coming here. Everything is nicely defined. All the rim light is doing nice work, so we can see the character perfectly. We are having simple foreground, so nothing is competing with the character. We have a simple background that works just super fine here. It's only the problem with the composition here. Maybe the dog is a little bit, if it's dog or something, it's a little bit weird because everything is nicely defined with like all details like eyes, mouth, fingers, like the teddy bear. This dog or the creature, it looks a little bit less polished, less detailed. But that would be okay, but we just probably need to move the whole composition, and it would be just awesome work in all aspects. I just love this one. I'm a little bit sad that it had this minor flaw because it was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Some people mention in the chat that the water, or I think maybe it should be dust or something like this, or mist, it looks a bit artificial here. It looks like a plane with an alpha channel laid over the entire thing. And also here you can see it looks as if it's going more into the distance than the leg is. So it's like what is actually behind the leg would be in front here. And everything looks pretty flat, and the same I think applies to the dust and mist stuff here in the background. Looks too artificial compared to the rest nice and organic shapes. Yeah. Jan, anything to add here?
I think Egon already mentioned it, but I think, like, for example, the dog had like really clear eyes, or like the girl, but let me change my color.
Well, Phillip is actually in the channel also confirming a few things. That it's a volumetric noise texture. So that's why it looks that way.
I don't know. If you could just see some glowing eyes or something, the dog would already be a lot more readable.
And he says it's a ghost rabbit.
Sorry.
Ghost rabbit.
That's awesome.
Actually, I saw the work in progress of this, and there was a lot more grass particles on the floor. So I don't know what happened there, but I think the floor could benefit from a little bit more particles, and also the mist could maybe be a
We
little
can have
bit
a look
more,
at the
you know, like
work in
this.
progress here.
Yeah, if the mist could be a bit more wispy. I don't know.
Yep.
I mean, the
This
work in
could easily
progress.
be done in 2D, right? In post-production, adding some more.
Or just some
wisps
image
of
planes with
fog.
some smoke on it. Or
Yeah,
something.
or like
Yeah.
that.
All right.
But I mean, when I look at it from like every time I see it for the first few seconds, it looks so awesome, and it almost looks like there should be some title over here or something. Something that would fill the image some more in this area would definitely help. So I can definitely see it as a poster for something.
Yeah, maybe the text is missing, and we don't allow
Yeah,
text
maybe,
on
maybe.
images.
It looks like
So it's our fault.
looks definitely like there is a space for something here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the box cover of a late 90s or early 2000s, like Sega or Nintendo game or something.
Yeah. All right. I think most is set here. Let's continue to
Someone
Ivan or
forgot the
Ivan
eyes.
Phang.
Sorry.
So again, this one is by Ivan Phang. And so who hasn't said something in a while? Marsha, what do you think about this?
Admit it.
Yeah, I actually like this artwork quite a lot, especially the hamster part. The hamster looks absolutely great. It's very, very nice. It has like this cool fur, and it looks very realistic. So well done, absolutely. Something I don't really like in this work is that the turtle, it looks like it has something wrong. Maybe I'm not sure if that's the eyes or maybe the textures, or not sure, but it looks like it's not really alive like the hamster in this case. Maybe you could add like some more like color variations on the texture or on in the eyes. Maybe there's something missing in the turtle face, because the other parts looks great, but it's the face that's missing something. And also
Sorry.
yeah,
I'm currently looking at the eyes of turtles like reference, and there are so many colors and shapes, so that could improve it. It doesn't have to be
probably
dark.
Yeah, maybe it's because it's like in a dark spot, so it doesn't get too much like illumination or anything like this. So maybe adding like a fake rim light or just some fake light to the eyes could help, because the hamster also, it doesn't have like so many like shapes or anything in the eyes. They are just black, but they feel more alive, while the turtle's eyes are not so alive. And and also this part here, it feels very far away for me. It might be like moved a bit more closer to us, so we can see better the target they're chasing.
Yeah. Egon, do you have anything here to add?
I appreciated the color palette here, the complementary color. They work just perfect. It's a very believable night scene. I really love the glowing of that lantern, which is giving us the focus on the main characters, and then we have everything else is just drowned in that bluish purplish night. That works pretty well. Maybe we can add a little bit more fog, like in the distance or to the sides, just give it like even more spooky vibe. We discussed this one a lot during our selection. The water also could be improved. That stream looks very wild, more like an ocean. That the water ripples are like very irregular. That wouldn't probably be the case of this kind of a stream. Otherwise, the scene, it's a believable, nice scene. The lighting is done well. The framing is fine. The composition is good. Everything leads this way. So we have the pointing the lantern, the look of the hamster, the turtle, the flow of the stream. We have these fences here, another bank. Well, everything works fine. This element is a little bit lost. Probably is important. So like Masha mentioned, well, putting it a little bit to the front will give us the better perspective what is happening, what they are searching for. And that's pretty much it. The scene is, like I said, it's pretty good. It's a believable night scene. Just a couple little, touches and it's done.
Yeah. I think the only thing I'm thinking about is that the surrounding area is maybe a tiny bit too dark. I'm not sure. I totally like the dark night vibe here that comes across very nicely. I'm just like, when you look from further away, you can only see, whoops, you can only see this part here, but everything else, especially in this area here, is pretty much one dark area because the water is also so black. So I'm not sure if maybe the moonlight, which we have somewhere here in the background, could be a tiny bit brighter, but yeah, this would be nitpicky. All in all, fantastic, especially the hamster. I think it's one of the best looking creatures from this competition here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
All right. Jan, anything? Have you mentioned anything?
I think maybe for the turtle, the eye looks a bit dead. I think maybe if you give it a little bit more expression or something. I don't know, not like this.
Evil turtle.
I think just looking at some reference images helps a lot with this kind of creature.
Yep.
All right.
And by the way, I do recommend having a look at turtle eyes because they're all sorts of shapes and colors, and it's really interesting. Everybody looking for a reference.
So let's continue here. So the last one from this round of Pro Arena submissions, it's from Tony Vu. It's a dragon, I think, or a snake.
A dragon
snake.
maybe.
Martin, what do you think here?
So yeah, I think I'm trying this to zoom out and see it properly. I think there's again a lot of things battling in the center of the composition. I know it's a center composition, but still there's too much going on in here with the mouse and a lot of glow behind the mouse, and then the dragon. The dragon is visible, okay, but the mouse is completely lost, I think, in the glow. And also the moon that is peeking right behind the dragon is bothering me a little bit. Maybe I would put it somewhere so that it doesn't intersect the dragon. I think what it really lacks is, again, more volumetric fog, because that helps a lot in scenes, and basically every larger scene, even a scene like this one, can benefit from it. So guys, definitely never forget about using at least some sort of atmospheric haze. It also helps to differentiate different shapes in different distances from the camera. So that's a great compositional tool. But the main problem for me is that the mouse is really like, it's not too clearly visible because of all that is happening right behind it.
So how could you improve the lower area of the image?
I would definitely think of putting fewer of these glowy plants in here. I think just a few would work as well. They could work wonderfully if they added some rim light at the edges of the mouse. It would bring it really, it would pop that way if the glow basically could be seen on the mouse. And again, the haze would help with making the mouse stand out. So that would be two things that I would really focus on.
Yeah. Jan. Do you have anything here?
Mainly, I think it's quite dark. If you just brighten it up a bit, or unfortunately we can't do that here, but there's a lot of detail in the trees in the background, but you can almost not see it. I just know it because I saw the work in progress. So make it definitely brighter and increase the contrast.
Yeah.
And like Martin said, the main character is almost lost in all the details.
Yeah.
I think one thing that could maybe help if we have like these glowing plants here reduced a little bit is to have a glow from this ball here, which is maybe shining on the character a bit more to define the silhouette a bit better. This could maybe help. Also, I was thinking if maybe when the moon is somewhere here behind the dragon thing, it could glow a bit more, and then we could have a stronger highlight of the rim light here. So it's already great that you added the rim light, but I think it could be a bit stronger here. And also what feels a bit weird is that it looks pretty bluish, but the moon is pretty like yellowish, whitish. So I think it would also be good to match the colors a bit better, because it's not only that the creature is blue, you can also see the blue light on the mouse here. So yeah, I think this is something, maybe make it like a bluish haze in the background, which is relatively bright. Yeah. Egon, what do you think?
You just said almost everything I wanted to mention, that the work with light would help a lot. So if we have these light coming from the top, so we will get the highlights on the dragon, so we can define the shapes better. And also it might give us some like shade coming from the head, like volumetric shade. And also, again, the light would emphasize the mouse character itself. So definitely some light work would help. Doesn't have to be any specific, like I just mentioned. It can be like some light coming from the side, from the moon, can be like the back glow, as you mentioned. We just need to define those characters better. One thing what would definitely help here would be if we lower the whole part here with the flowers. So we will give these flowers underneath the legs of the mouse, and that way we can also give it some additional glow from the bottom, like helping us with the rim light.
Yep.
Yeah, so definitely if we make this area a little bit darker, and we get the glow from the plants, like coming from here a little bit. Yes, it's busy. Like the foreground is busy, the background with so many like glaring points here. I would just reduce the overall busyness of the scene, that noise, visual noise, and then we will get it like much cleaner. Yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Masha, any last thoughts? Or
Yeah, maybe one thing also that you could do here is maybe adding some more variation to the creature texture in general, because usually using a lot of references in this cases helps a lot, because if you see some reptiles references in general, you can see that usually the texture you have on the head, they have like specific shapes usually, and also it has like this bigger scales on the head and then smaller scales around the body, and that could help you to add more believability to your creature, even if it's fantasy. So yeah, that's it for me.
yeah. All right. That means we move over back to the training arena, but now we look at the highlights, which means these are basically the winners of the training arena. So we pick these artworks because we like them a lot. So they are like showcased on the winner page on our website. And we begin with Belal Nagah. So that's this one here.
Everyone's favorite.
So cute. So, Jan, do you want to start here?
To be honest, I have almost nothing that I could add to this. Maybe give it a little bit more of a central composition, put the character in the middle. Maybe a little bit more difference between the color of the character in the background, but other than that, I think it's really good, really cute.
I think from
Interesting
my
design.
Sorry. I think it's pretty perfect. It's clean. The color is fitting nicely. The lighting is good. The only little thing I would maybe mention is that these objects could maybe have a little bit more interesting texture. Shouldn't be anything crazy, but just a little bit variation here, roughness map or anything like this could help to make it look a bit more interesting. Also here on the leather from the backpack. Yeah. Martin?
Only thing I'm thinking about is the connection of the grass to the ground. That's what's bothering me a little bit. I'm not sure how to solve it. If some more detail at the roots would help. I don't think so, because it's too stylized for that. So maybe just a little bit more grass so that these like empty patches here are not that visible. So that's the only thing I would critique about
Or
this.
maybe adding some noise to the ground so it covers the
Yeah, or like that.
roots.
That's a good idea.
Thinking about it, maybe adding a
weird
little
thing.
mouse.
That would make it more expressive, yeah. But the noise is weird, because the noise, when I really zoom in the picture, which the audience can't really do. But Zach, you can zoom in, because in the bright spots at the background, there is almost no noise. But at the spots where the grass is, there is a lot of noise. So that's a little technical detail that I would try to improve, basically unifying the noise. Yeah. Maybe it's because of the rendering. Usually what you do is you render with as high as a sample rate as you can. Doesn't have to be like 4,000 or something. But basically render it out with the noise, denoise it, and then put film grain or something into the image back in. And that way the noise always looks much better, or rather grain, because the proper what we know from movies is film grain. It's different from 3D art noise. So watch out for that.
But Martin, what's the difference?
I think Andrew Price talked about it, right? That digital noise is more regular, I think, and it is colorful, while movie noise it feels more organic, and it gives the noise something that we know from movies. It feels more relatable, I think. When I talk about it like this, it seems like a little detail, but actually film noise is or film grain is very important. So I suggest studying the topic.
Yeah, I think the presentation you mentioned from Enterprise, it's from this year Blender conference. It's on the Blender YouTube channel, Blender Conference 2022. There's one talk from Enterprise where he mentioned this. Someone in the comments mentioned that we could have some trees more in the foreground, because now it's basically just a flat image in the background behind all the hills here. So yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if this would be too distracting, but yeah, this might be something.
Another interesting comment from Variations of Noise. He or she says, for me, the off-center character helps with the direction of the walking. So it gives a space in front of the value of the future. Not sure what that means, but I'm guessing it kind of adds to, you can see where the character is going to go in the future.
Yeah, I
so
guess.
I thought that was an interesting observation.
Yeah.
What I also feel is like this area is pretty dark and this is pretty light. And although the character is more towards this side, this balance each other out, basically, it feels. So I think it works with the character a little bit more to the right side. All right, I think let's move on. Or anyone want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I read the description, and this is a very cool interpretation of Goro Fujita, artist artwork, the little reddish, and I saw that there are so many interpretations of this like artwork, but this is the best one I saw so far. And one small thing I would change here is adding just a few more subdivisions to the legs, because if you zoom in, you can see that we can see the subdivisions, the lack of subdivisions in that areas.
Or
So
shading
that's
smooth.
it from me.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue to Florian Fuhrmann. Also highlight of the training arena. Oh, this is big. Scale it down a bit. So, okay, Egon, do you want to start here?
Yeah, why not? Again, the one we really liked here. What I really appreciate is central composition here is very simple. It's drawing eye right to the main point, which is the snail. It is happy face. The color palette is very subtle. There are no really contrasty colors, but still we really see the main element clearly. I think it's mostly because of the beautiful rim light. We are having some, of course, the subsurface scattering or the translucency of the material, which is also helping a lot. We have also rim light here, but we would have anyway, we would have a contrast here. So that's only like additional touch, which gives us a little bit more of the contour to visible. On the other side as well, we have a rim light. So the lighting is just perfect here. I really appreciate all the tiny details on the suitcase. It gives the scene that extra level of details, because we have this like low frequency details for the main character. We have the high frequency on the suitcase. So we have all this medium frequency for the foreground, like with the stones and little imperfections on the surface. So we have all kinds of the like levels of details, which is really supporting the scene. And it all works well together. It's like nicely blended. Only thing what I would improve here is that snail house, the shell. It looks, it's too blended, the shape, it's not very defined. So giving it some extra creases to give it like a more definition of the shape would help. But I believe this one is stylized, so there can be a long discussion if this is correct or not. But like just giving it a couple of creases and cavity, like ambient occlusion would like help immediately to define the spiral structure. But otherwise, I really appreciate the work with the materials, because this snail shell material, it's perfect. I like this kind of jelly translucent material for the body. The foreground, for me, it's very nice work with the colors, with the lighting and material. Also, the foreground framing, it's nicely blurred, so it's not drawing attention. We see it here, it's framing everything towards the character, but it's not disturbing. It's one of the really good ones, and we enjoyed all the aspects. And as we mentioned many times, most of the artworks we choose for the finals are almost perfect, but we just find some things we can recommend for improvement for the future.
Yeah. I think the only little thing I mention here, which is just super tiny thing, which might not even be important, is to maybe make the foreground areas here a little bit darker. So you can really tell that's the foreground and not somewhere in between. But that would be pretty much everything. By the way, there's a little fun fact. I think the snail without the shell is called slug or something like this. And in Germany, we have basically, it's a snail or a naked snail, which is...
Yeah, it's the same in Dutch.
Yeah. So
one thing I'm not sure about is the web in front of the character. Yeah, it is. Now I see it when I zoom in. It seems a little bit confusing the way it is in front of his face. There is a little spider web here, so that bugs me a little bit, but that's not a biggie.
I haven't even noticed that it's in front, but yeah, that's true.
Only after looking at it for a long time now, I've noticed that. Now I can't unsee it.
Masha?
Nothing to add. Great artwork. Everyone already said everything.
Okay. And Jan?
Yeah, I love the texture on the snail body, that it gets dirtier towards the ground and stuff. That's really good.
Yeah.
It has great stop motion vibe to it. Like
Yeah.
a stop motion movie.
Yeah, I can really see the steppy animation there.
Yeah. Nice.
By the way, I remember someone asked in the comments if they can use grease pencil to create an artwork. So we had one grease pencil artwork for this competition, which we couldn't accept because it was purely 2D painted.
Yeah.
And although it is was done in Blender, this is still like a 3D competition. So it should be somehow 3D. You can do something like 2.5D. So you still have the 3D feel to the image, but it shouldn't be just like a flat painted image inside of Blender with grease pencil. So yeah, keep this in mind.
Anyway, we are sorry. Each time I have to exclude an artwork, I'm like, oh, bleeding inside.
So
you
the
check
next
that in the hospital if you are bleeding inside, though. One question from Lord Fox is how we choose our renders.
Yeah, 1 second. So the next one is a highlight from the training arena from Mark Simonella. This one here. Yeah, so basically we have 259 submissions, like both categories together. And then each of the judges, which is basically the entire team here, except Alan, and Alan is replaced by Daniel, basically. Then this is a judging team. Everyone is picking 10 artworks they like most from each category, and then we put them all together in one folder, and then we have around 25 to 30 artworks as finalists. And then we basically sit together and go through all of these artworks one by one and talk about what we like, what we don't like. And then step by step, we remove the artworks which we don't like so much. And then in the end, we have like 5 artworks left for each category. And for the pro arena, then we also decide which one should be first, second, and third. And of course, we look at criteria as, of course, the typical technical things like lighting, composition, modeling, texturing, quality, and so on. But also storytelling is an important part, which we always look into, and the overall visual appearance of the images. So, of course, personal taste always plays into a role, but since we all have very different personal taste, I think it's a good back and forth. Sometimes I don't like an image, but other people love it a lot. So I think this is a really good way to pick the artworks. Yeah. All right, let's get started with this one here. Who want to start? Maybe Egon?
Okay, yeah, well, this one, we were just mentioning the storytelling, which is always criteria which we have to take into account. And this one, it has a great storytelling. I really like this image because you don't really have to show the traveler itself. You don't have to really show the person or the creature or the fantasy creature going somewhere. You can just create the mood with the props. And this is a very nice example how you will create the story without like showing it directly. You show all the props which you have here in the scene. You have this suitcase, you have this plush toy, you have the small car. So immediately you know that this story is about some small kid who is going to travel somewhere. The travel is going to be big. Even the kid is small, so even going to the next street or to his friend, like to sleep overnight, it's always a big journey, big adventure. So he's getting ready for it. He is having this suitcase probably after parents, because he is having all those different stickers there from the past, and he loves them because it's cool. It's something from the world of the big adults. So he has his own suitcase, he has the toys. So he's completely ready for the adventure. So you don't see the character, but you know the story immediately. So that was one of the things I spotted immediately here. And
I could see the
if
boy in front of my eyes now.
Yeah. And if you take it from the technical side, it's pretty cool. There are just minor flaws, which we always find if we are nitpicking and concentrated on art critique. So you always find something, which is okay, because there is always space for improvement for everybody. So here the materials are very detailed. They are like very believable. The textures on the materials on that sofa and the pillows, it's also believable. You look at every detail, it's fine. Then of course at the end you will find something. So here we were discussing the texture of the bear. So it looks almost okay, and then if you look at it longer, something's odd about it. But like I said, it's a minor thing, because when you look, as we did for 10 minutes at the picture, and you are trying to find out the pros and cons, then you will find something definitely. But the colors are beautiful. Lighting is very subtle. Everything is just like very poetic, subtle. Like the trip is ready in the morning. The kids are just finishing breakfast and he's ready. So that's probably my description of this one.
Yeah, I don't have much to add here. I think maybe the little traveler should be the teddy bear. So this might be. I think the only little nitpicky thing is that the teddy bear looks a little bit stiff. I know it's a plush teddy bear, but I feel that maybe the arms could like hang down a little bit more. So you better feel the gravity and weight. But yeah, as mentioned, this is just a very tiny thing here. Martin, Masha?
I think maybe adding some like small parts with seams would help. Oh, this is the wrong color. Like in these areas, like this one, around the, like not here, here. This would add some realism to it, but otherwise everything great. Well done, great work.
The wall in the background seems a little bit too specular for me, like it's wet. But that's just a small thing, and overall, this was one of my favorite entries in this competition.
Jan, do you want to add something?
No, it's all been said.
Yeah. All right. So pretty good. If we don't have much to say, I think it's a great artwork. So it's
very well done.
Continue. So still highlights of the training arena by Bielecki or Michał, the Space Cat. So Masha, you want to start here?
Yeah, I actually like this work a lot. I mean, it reminds me very much of the Love, Death, Robots, some of the Love, Death, Robots parts of series where you have the cats conquering the Mars and the Earth and everything. So it's really fun for me to watch this. And just some minor things. The overall like ambient and environment is very cool. It looks very atmospheric for me. Maybe the cat's sweet shape could be improved a bit, especially like the general shape we have here. It looks very not so detailed, and the shape is a bit like not great, so that could be improved. And also the helmet, you have this, if you zoom in, you can see that these two are basically separate objects, and you see like the seams, but you actually...
Now we can see. Good.
Yeah.
I see it now.
Okay, so basically you can see it, but they have the same material, and you don't have any kind of I don't know, any kind of thing that attaches that part to the rest of the helmet. So it could be a nice idea to maybe add something here, and maybe add a different material to this part here. So this would help a lot with the helmet in general, and in general adding some more details, working a bit more on the shape of this like suit, so it could have like a more cat-like shape, and that's the main thing for me in this image that could be improved.
I think the only thing I would maybe mention here is I would love to see at least a little bit inside the helmet to see what we have here, maybe some eyes, something like this. And maybe also add a little shape in the front here. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, it's a cat, it's not a dog. Yeah. I mean, for a dog, it would maybe make sense, but for a cat, probably not. Yeah. Mm.
When it comes, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask anyone want to add something here.
The environment I like. I know it's probably made from realistic assets, but somehow it really fits the stylized character. So I'm looking at it and trying to figure it out why it feels stylized, even though it's not. Maybe the lack of bump or normal on the ground, or maybe it's not lacking normal, but it's very soft. So maybe that's it. I don't know, but it works, and that's great in combination with the character. I'm missing some. Oh, sorry. I'm missing something in the part up here. I think it's too empty. So adding something at least. Even on Mars there are clouds. So filling that area with clouds would probably be a good idea.
Can you highlight this area once again? It wasn't.
I'm not sure. Okay, I'll do it with pencil. So just this top one, it's completely empty.
Yeah.
So at least adding some shapes.
Are there clouds on Mars?
I think so. I just watched Martian. I think they have some. I'll check.
By the way, is this only something I can see? But are here some lines in the image?
Yeah, I can see them too.
So maybe it's some artifacts from the background image or something like this. I don't know.
There are really soft clouds in some of the shots of the film, and I think that would maybe it's dust. It doesn't have to be clouds. Probably it wouldn't be physically correct, but dust in the air can make some shapes, and it would be wonderful for this piece, breaking up the solid background.
Yeah.
I think one thing, if this is a cat, and I don't know if we know that for sure, but then maybe the tail needs a little bit more space.
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe it's a dog. I don't know.
I think
we will
it's
never know.
Maybe we're all cat people.
But we all think it's a cat. Yeah.
This shape of ears is, I think it's iconic for cats.
Yeah.
Masha, maybe it was mentioned in the email from the author.
Oh, I don't remember. I can take a look now.
We should do our homeworks better. All right. Okay. Anything here, or should we move on?
I really like it. I think it was one of the best ones in this arena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It looks like the still from a short film.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's continue with the last one of the training arena highlights by Philip Diaz. The spooky one. So, Egon, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, we have another stylized one, which is always a great showcase that 3D is not only about a photorealism, that it can be very, very stylized, and it can be great 3D. This one is really cool, especially in the time of around Halloween. And there are some minor things that would help it, because like it has a great start, this piece of art, but then some things are kind of like killing it. We have this beautiful character. Oh, I have to grab a better color here. Just a second. Something more. Okay, so we have this character here, but we can hardly see some parts because all the elements are fighting. So moving the character a little bit to the center, or to like So the character will be more free, and this kind of background, it's not that busy, would definitely help. And also, as we were looking at this image, there is a more story into it. There is this grave in here with a pumpkin sign on it. So we definitely know that this traveler is coming out of the grave and it's going somewhere. So the story is here. It's beautiful. But we are losing this coffin cemetery grave element because we have so many things competing with it. We have this visual noise of this speckles, like should be probably fireflies or some dust illuminated. So, but it's too many of them, and especially around the pumpkin. So it's fighting together. So moving the character a little bit here, moving the graveyard a little bit up, and giving it some rim light coming from the moon. So we will nicely separate the silhouette of the character from the background. Would definitely help. Again, similar, like it would help also for this another character, which is bringing the lantern. So moving in the composition a little bit generally is like the scene layout, if it's improved, and a little bit of declustering, the removing of the visual noise would help. The rim light will be just finishing touch to separate the elements. What I admire here is the color palette again. It's very cartoonish, it's very believable.
I need to see these changes. Nothing would make me happier than if the author actually went in and improved this, because this could be so
Very
perfect.
cool.
Yeah, we would all love it. If it's
Absolutely.
redone and finished, we would all love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do.
Please.
By the way, the previous artwork was a cat.
Okay.
Just checked.
Yeah,
It's clear by the ears.
for me, I love it. I don't have anything to add to Egon. Just maybe the Semia is a little bit visible, just a tiny thing. And I'm not too sure the moon looks a bit washed out. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, because it's good, so the background is not competing too much with the foreground. But on the other hand, a moon shines pretty bright, I guess, right? So, yeah, not sure about this. Masha, Martin, Jan, anyone?
I think everything has been said. Great artwork. That's it
Yeah,
from
it's
me.
awesome.
Thinking about a little haze again, a little bit more haze.
It's stylized.
But I'm not
Martin.
sure. I know. I'm not sure if it would fit. That's why I'm thinking about it, not
Yeah.
suggesting it. Okay. Yeah. Amazing.
All right. Yeah, let's continue. So now we are moving into the winner section of the Pro Arena, and we're starting with the honorable mentions. So let's start with Yeremey Moskalev with this beautiful character render here. So, okay, Jan, do you want to start here?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's got some really cool details, like the safety pin that he uses, and the materials for his clothes seem to be really correct for the scale. And I think also the chromatic aberration effect fits well in this one. Normally, I'm not a fan of that, but here it really makes it look like it was shot with a macro lens or something, which makes the character look really small.
Yeah.
The only thing is the skin, maybe the face and the hands looks a bit plasticky to me, and maybe the expression is not super interesting. But overall, I think it's really good. Looks like a still from a movie like Arrietty or The Borrowers or something like that.
Yeah. Masha?
Yeah, I generally love the textures of these artworks. The vibe is very cool, and the color combination is great. And I like this artwork very much. And we also have this part that is like has this very nice moss And it really reminds me, like gives me the sensation of like a puppet scene. Also the moss, it feels very realistic, but it also feels like a toy moss or something like this. So just it doesn't feel like disturbing for me. It feels like nice. I like it very much. And the only thing for me that lacks a bit is story, basically. But apart from that, I think this artwork is really great, and I like it very much.
What could we do to improve like the storytelling of this artwork?
Well, you could try maybe to add something he's watching something, so you could add something he's watching it, like I don't know, an animal maybe, or maybe he's going somewhere, so we could add like a faraway target where he's house maybe or anything like this, so it can like tell us where is he going. And this could be one way. Another way could be maybe give him some more objects to tell us what who he is, which are his purposes for traveling or anything like this. Maybe adding some details he can hold or anything like this. Yeah, there are many ways you could do this.
One thing I'm just thinking about now would be maybe fun to like make the stuff somewhere, something like this, and maybe like a fly or something like this sitting here, which would make it look a bit more interesting, I think. I think this was mentioned in the comments that we have again so much depth of field, but I think here it actually fits because the closer you get with something, the more shallow depth of field you get. So I think it fits really well here.
Well, I'm a bit confused about the scales. It seems like the character is very small, but the grass or the moss is not proportional to that, I think. But that's just a little thing. The main problem here for me is I find this one too boring. It's something like that doesn't work for me. It's just a stiff character with really not even. There is not even anything on him except for maybe this little pin back here that would be of interest, of like hinting at something. So that's my main problem with this one.
Yeah.
And the subsurface.
Egon, anything to add?
I think other guys, they already said everything we discussed, and we found like pros and cons for this one. So I think it's pretty much wraps that.
Yeah. Also.
Cool. Yeah. But technically, it's like very nice to look at. Maybe the depth of field is a little bit too much, and the chromatic aberration. But...
Yeah, we all loved this image, for like the technical side, for the material side, and the detailness, and more and more we were looking. It was like, yes, it's technically very well presented, but what's the story? And then if we compare it with the other entries, and we are looking for the technical quality and the stories, then if the story is missing, then it's kind of like sad, because it could go much further again.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the second honorable mention by Steffen Knothe. The hamsters. So how can I scale it down a bit? Oops.
I like this one.
Yeah, me too.
And again, it's one of those that I need to see more finished. It's like, it could be so amazing. It makes me sad. But hopefully the author will listen to us, maybe, or just decide to work on it some more. So
yeah. So Martin, maybe you just start here when you're so enthusiastic.
Sorry. You could see me yesterday that I was riled up about this one quite a bit when we had that preparatory chat. And we talked about this one quite a bit. And I think, again, Jesus, I'm going to repeat myself again, but a little bit more haze here to differentiate the foreground characters from the background and the bridge. That would solve a lot of issues, because now everything's kind of blending together. And there are so many amazing details here on the boat and with the characters of the mice, even the little banners in here, but they are kind of lost in the background. And the second problem I have is the water. It's kind of, I don't know, not detailed enough, too dark. More reflections maybe would help. Maybe the author could look at some other entries in the pro arena. I think there's a lot of water there, and I think generally it was better water than in this case. So, or real life reference. That's always the best. But that's two things that I would be completely happy if it was improved, and then it would be so much better.
Regarding the water, I think like the water in general has a nice shape, so we have good ripplings here and stuff. Maybe it's missing these very sharp and harsh white highlights to make it look more wet. Maybe it's a bit too like soft and rough.
Yeah.
This might be the problem here. I'm not sure.
I
Jan?
think to sell the scale of the water, because it is small, it's supposed to be very small, then maybe there would be a little bit more splashing.
Yeah.
I know you'd have to look
agree.
at reference, but for example, in those Pirates of the Caribbean movies and stuff, when they make miniatures, they have to make them really big, because otherwise you can see that the water is at the wrong scale. So I think to make it look small here, you'd have to have a bit more splashing. And I think they look very cute.
Yeah. So cute.
I want to know more about them.
Yeah.
I think one other little thing.
Masha loves it. Masha approves.
Yeah.
One other little thing are the crops. I think it should be crops in barrels or something like this. Especially in this part, it's blending a little bit too much with the background. So it's, again, the background is mixing in with the foreground. So I think this is a bit confusing. Maybe having something from the ship, like a dark element here, could help a little bit.
Could
I'm
help.
not sure. Something like this. I love the cats here in the background, by the way.
Yeah.
Nice little story detail here.
Ready to attack.
I just noticed there is another ship in here, which is beautiful. Another
cool.
little detail, which is cool. Yeah, definitely as the ship is moving on the water, we can see this motion blur here. Like the paddle wheels are going fast, then we would definitely see some splashing in here. Definitely some bigger splash in the background. Of course, the wave from the bow would also do something like this, like Jan mentioned already. And last thing what I would probably add, we see some guard rays coming through the leaves. We can even make them more prominent. And with the haze, as Martin mentioned, we can create even more separation from the background, just a subtle one.
Yeah. Another way could be maybe to like make this area to cut the bridge a bit more, so you have like more like bright part here, and you have more contrast with the mices.
But Masha, it would collapse.
Fixed and done.
Mr. Just in Case, which is awesome name by the way, but Just in Case mentioned in the chat that the cats look a little bit out of scale, and
maybe
I'm
they're
not sure
small
now.
cats.
Maybe they're or
I mean, I can feel they are pretty far away, so
could be though. But it worked for me, so I'm happy with everything basically about this artwork except those things that we mentioned.
Yeah.
So please improve it.
So Martin can be happy, and all of us too.
All of us.
So let's clean this up. who has left stuff here? Is this me? Yes, it's me. There's a green little dot up there.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sorry.
It's Masha.
Okay, let's get to the third place of the Pro Arena by Yaroslav Kovalenok. This one. Oh,
The hip.
dang it. I added this to the wrong layer. Sorry, guys. There it is. So, all right. Jan, do you want to start here again?
I honestly, I don't really have that much to say about this. I can tell that they spend a lot of time on the background for sure, and it looks very interesting. Maybe the character could have a little bit more work. I mean, in terms of sculpting. Yeah, I don't know. Yes.
It's basically, it feels like there was so much time and effort put into the whole background and composition and so on. And then, like in the last day, let's quickly add a character here. And then,
Yeah.
as Martin showed, like this weird artifacts of the character looks a bit weird. You can also see it in other places.
Yeah.
So this, especially the shape of the character, could be improved a lot. I think it is still fine to use this like cartoony character in this scene.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. But just a little bit more love for the shapes.
Yeah.
It is weird. There are these like proper dinosaurs in the background, and this guy doesn't really fit that. There's even a like very detailed T-Rex in here. Actually,
I mean, the stylized style looks very done on purpose, but these are this very tiny lacks of shapes, because otherwise it looks great for me. It totally fits the scene. It's okay, but just a little more attention to these areas, just a bit.
But the use of shadow and bright highlights in certain areas, I like how the author played with it.
I have to say that it took me a little while to understand that these are here like true human scale trees, let's say, and that this is like a huge tree. So from looking at the image, it doesn't feel that this area is so far away that this is like a giant tree, and these are like normal scaled, big scaled dinosaurs. So yeah, this might be something. This island looks much closer, in my opinion.
Yeah, kind of.
Maybe it's because the details here on the tree are too big and low res for this scale. And also the waterfalls here could be maybe a bit stronger, or maybe in more visible areas to make it clearer. And maybe add something. I mean, you have these flying dinosaurs up here, so maybe they should be in front of the tree somewhere, so you can actually tell the size.
Yeah.
Egon, do you have anything?
Well, just some like small explanation. What I really like the lines, which are like drawing the attention all immediately to the point where we want to look. It's right here. Everything goes here. Everything is nicely framed. As Martin mentioned, darker elements are nicely closing the scene, so you are focusing on the right spot. What I really like, it's also the composition. If you take a look, like typical rule of thirds, it's here, it's working. We have here the foreground, we have the eyes, like we have the floating island here. Everything just works fine here. Again, as we are discussing every art, we are trying to find what can be improved. So the character, it's the only like real issue we have found here. Otherwise, the colors, the composition, the framing, also the format, the wide format, it's just giving you feeling that you are watching the movie on a big screen TV. So we really appreciate this work. And if the character can be improved, again, we will be happy.
Yeah, just these few areas, nothing more. And I mean, this is a great example of an artwork where you have like all these elements, all these details, and they don't really feel confusing at all. They're just like greatly placed around the scene. All
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. By the way, here's also a good example that the background elements are not intersecting with the silhouette of the creature.
Yeah.
So it's clearly here. Might be a little bit too blue in some areas, but that's just a minor thing. Someone mentioned
one little thing. Sorry.
someone mentioned that it looks similar as one creature on my art station. You basically mean this here, right? Yeah, Martin.
This mountain here touches the edge.
Oh no!
Yeah, I just
I'm
wanted
sorry.
to mention it. So if you do go in and try to improve it,
That's a pretty flat mountain.
something like that, of course.
Yeah, just kidding. All right. So awesome artwork. Let's clean this up and let's go to place number 2 by Leo Semmelmann. That one. Oh, little Frodo is walking through the forest here. So, Egon, can you tell us why this is place number 2?
Yeah, it's a special vibe. This one, even if you see there are like not so many details. Actually, there are details like on the scene, but not like objects, props, or anything like popping out. It gives you the impression of the traveling through the forest immediately. That there's a story. The color grading, it's awesome here. You don't look for some special details. You look for the story, for the vibe, and for the mood of this place, and it's all here. We have this beautiful composition again. We have the god rays coming, like leading our eye directly to the character. Even the character is not very detailed. We believe it's there because we see like the path where he's heading. Everything is not nicely contrasted. So this is like one of the elements what we see here. We have this all tiny believable things in the scene, like the dust flowing in the air. We have this details on the trees, and it's not disturbing you. It's just following the scene and the flow. You have a nicely darker foreground, which is like in the background here, which is also again leading the eye. Everything works well here, and I would say like the biggest selling point of this scene is the vibe. You have the feeling that this is like the stop motion animation set, and you are just like looking through the camera, and you are waiting for the animators to do their job. So I believe the vibe, believability, and the color grading makes the best here.
Yeah.
Waiting for the animators to do their job. That's the story of every short film.
Jan,
Long story short.
Yeah, the color palette is beautiful. One thing I'm a little bit confused about is the size of the character. If it is a little traveler, like a little hobbit or something, then I feel like the tree just next to it should be a little bit bigger. Because now it's just,
tiny
the tree makes him look like a normal human scale character.
Yeah.
But, because the mushrooms, for example, they are bigger than they would normally be. But it's a minor thing. I mean,
and was
very
it this
beautiful.
one that was rendered in Redshift, or was it a different one?
I think so. Yeah.
I think that one is.
I think the major issue I have, which is just a minor thing in general, is that the materials of the character look a little bit like plastic. I mean, it supports like the stop motion vibe of the image. But yeah, I think this is something that could be worked on a little bit, like here or in this area. And somehow the hair looks, I mean, when you look up close, it looks fine, but from far away, it looks like one big blob. I think this could be improved as well. Maybe give it a more defined shape. Yeah, something like this.
For me, I'm lacking a little bit of story in this one, so that was always my always since yesterday my biggest problem with this one. But yeah, the feeling of stop motion short, like a stop motion film, is what's really making this work for me.
Yeah.
I'm
And
wondering
maybe
if-
like having a little shape in here of something, anything.
Yeah, maybe a monster or anything like that.
Yeah, something like that. So he's just calmly walking towards.
Yeah, but it's also like this could be the story. Like there are many like Scandinavian stories where there are these characters. They're just calmly living their lives, and it's okay. Like
yeah,
I
true.
actually like this scene a lot.
Yeah. The only thing I was thinking about, if maybe the camera perspective needed to change, then also to move the character slightly bit to the left to have him a bit more here in the bright spot to even better see the silhouette. But I'm not entirely sure about that.
Yeah, and maybe the character looks a bit like it's like kind of falling down. I don't know. Maybe it's too. Not sure. Maybe it should be a more like this. I'm not expressing myself very well.
Like this.
Yeah. Like more straight.
Yeah. All right. Anyone want to add anything here? I don't think so. So we are crossing the 2-hour mark. Let's get to the final artwork here, which is the first place winner of the Pro Arena, which is by Dylan Atkins. Zoom in here a bit. So Masha, do you want to start here?
Yeah. This artwork is very nice. I like it a lot. You have like everything you need in a good artwork. You have storytelling, you have nice characters, textures, and everything. So the only thing that concerns me a bit are the faces of the creatures. They are supposed to have like happy faces, but they actually look a bit dead. Like in the turtle previous thing, artwork we had, they have expressions, but maybe it's the eyes. They look the frog eyes especially, they look a bit like it's smiling, but it's actually sad or like unhappy in general. And this is something that disturbs me very much, because in this artworks they are kind of like the main part is here and the expressions are very important. So
Maybe
I
they're
would
just
try.
realizing what's behind them. It's like the second they're realizing.
Yeah, and of course you have this like cool storytelling part where you have the big
You can also
serpent.
clean your entire layer.
Yeah, you're right. I always forgot about this feature. Anyway, apart from that, it's very cool. You have all these tiny details. You can discover this little snail you can like notice at the last moment. It's very cool. So the only thing for me would be to like work a bit more on the face expressions. That's it.
Yeah. I totally love the storytelling in this artwork, that you first discover the little two travelers here, and they are so lighthearted and pretty happy, and then you look, oh, what's going on over here? And then this snake is hanging here in the trees and coming closer. So fantastic work. I'm really wondering what it is with the faces. Maybe the eyes are not smiling too much. Not sure. Maybe make this a bit more. Whoop. Okay, it's hard to describe it with lines, but yeah. And maybe the frog texture could have a few more details. Looks a bit too plasticky, I think.
Yep.
The snake looks fantastic, by the way.
Yeah,
You
the
nailed
snake
it
looks
there.
great.
Yeah. It
Ma-
makes me wonder how come that the snake looks that great and the main characters don't. It's a pity. It's my main problem with it.
Yeah, for me it's the same.
You just cropped it.
Yeah, I just did a little bit of framing. I was thinking that if we frame, because we have many beautiful details in this scene. The texture of the bark is super awesome. This mushroom snail, everything works very nicely. And I was having the feeling that this left side, even though we have some details, is just empty space, which is not giving this area, which is not giving more to the story. So the story is here. It's beautiful. I'm not 100% sure if we need the left side. So if we do maybe a little bit of crop, we still have the story there. We have a little bit of framing, and we will have more focus on the characters. But that's just a minor thing. I was like looking at the picture and was thinking what we can improve or what we can recommend to do. So it's just like one of the suggestions.
Maybe a tiny thing that might also help is to darken up the background a bit more, just a tiny bit, so the characters in the foreground stand out a bit more. But again, this is also just a tiny thing. By the way, hi Dylan, he's in the chat. Great artwork, congrats. Yeah, anyone, anything?
I wonder if
to
the
add?
mouth can be improved a bit. I think it's the expression is because of the mouth, not so much the eyes. Just
Maybe.
change his shape a little bit, you see?
Yeah,
He looks a lot
Yeah, you're
happier.
you're right.
And one thing that's a little bit confusing to me is the depth of field is quite strong, which makes the snake in the background look very far. But then the body here is very big. Wait, let me change my color. This seems to be very far away, but it's almost the same thickness as this, which means that it's almost exactly the same distance. And then the blur is quite extreme, I think. But it is very beautiful. I love a good blur.
The blur helps, of course, to separate the fore and background here. I mean, maybe the snail is getting really thick at the center part.
That's possible.
When I look at it overall, it has this wonderful magical color palette that I've never actually tried out, and I always like when somebody uses it and uses it well. So the colors are very nice. I have a little bit problem with this shape coming inside the head of the frog. Like there is this little highlight here, and yeah, again Martin with the little details. But if that could be shaded out, basically put in shadow or something, that could help.
Yeah, Dylan, we would love to see like a little adjusted image. If you make any little adjustments like this, would be awesome to see.
I mean, it applies to all the pieces that we just mentioned.
Yeah,
the last
of course.
Like we want to see those awesome final versions of these. It would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, you can always, like doing a challenge, you can always post your work in progress renders in our community. I think there's a link in the video description to the space in our community. There you can post it, and the team and also other members will give feedback, so you can improve your artwork while you're working on it. So definitely make use of it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the review part. Now you have the chance to ask us anything in the chat if you have any questions left, basically. Just want to mention that our next challenge is coming up on November 16th. So that's next week, Wednesday. We don't announce the topic yet, but it will be another exciting challenge. And I think it will be the last challenge for this year. So basically your last chance to jump in and have some fun. So yeah. Thanks everyone for joining in. If there are no other questions, then I think we can.
Somebody in the chat, Ayush, is asking if the snake is model or image. I would like to know the answer as well. But it seems like a 3D model. It fits well.
I think it's a 3D
Let me
model.
check. We have the work in progress render here. It's this one. You can clearly see it's a 3D mesh.
Yeah.
Okay, and
it's
here
all real.
We also nicely see that this proportion of the snake, as Jan mentioned, it's actually close to the foreground. So probably the depth of field is giving it a much bigger perception than it is actually.
Yeah.
All right.
He mentioned it's rendered in Eevee, which I thought was quite impressive because I
cool.
automatically thought cycles, but it was actually Eevee.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. I think it's hard to get good depth of field in Eevee.
One question from WW Studios is: do you think one person can make an animated movie a full animated movie in a year?
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
Depends on how detailed you're making it. So if you keep it simple, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's gonna be hard anyway.
Yeah, of course. But usually people, especially people starting out with 3D, are putting too much. It should look realistic and too much details and everything. You can also tell a story with a very simplistic style. I'm showing this in the Cubic Worlds course, where you can basically tell stories with little boxy characters. So this is maybe a way. Let me show you this here. So where it is. So here you have little boxy characters. They are not complicated, quick to create, and you can still tell little stories with these boxy characters. And I think if you keep the style simple, this should work. I think a year is fine. Yeah.
Just in case is asking if we are still sticking to the guitar. I think Egon. I almost.
I've been too busy lately, so I had hardly any time to play and practice. It's a pity of me because I have it at work, and we were finishing some projects, and I had totally no time to play and practice. So shame on me.
Shame on me as well.
You basically mentioned that you want to learn playing guitar in one of the last live streams, right?
A year ago. I'm not sure how long it is, but
where's my 10,000 hours? Yeah.
All right. Any last question here?
What are the major aspects of environment creation that one should keep in mind, Martin?
Well, I'm thinking about the most common mistakes or imperfections in the renders that come from students in the master environment course. And mostly it's about placing elements so that the composition works, which is, of course, something you can maybe study from great artists. You can try to look at their composition and maybe copy it. Copying composition is quite okay if you're learning, so that's what I would suggest. And then studying real world elements like how the haze or atmospheric fog behaves, how everything tends to get a little blurry in the distance, stuff like that. And only then the finer details, the textures, the materials. But if you have these big things sorted out, everything gets easier after that.
Martin created a video recently where he gives 10 tips for creating epic landscapes. I think he mentions also some very good tips there. So you can watch it on our channel here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the latest ones. Some questions coming in.
So Zach, Martin, any new courses on the horizon, like on compositing? Well, we have a few courses we are working on in the background, like also with other creators. We don't want to mention too much here, but compositing is looking good, actually. And also the whole stuff we mentioned during this live stream with composition and lighting and so on and so forth. So we might cover this. Yeah, on my part, I'm mainly working on the existing courses to improve them. So, but we have some other authors jumping in and covering some new topics. So, yeah, and we have a grease pencil course coming out this month when everything
be
works out nicely.
exciting. I can't wait for that myself. And for next year, I definitely plan on releasing at least like as soon as possible next year. I'll try to release at least the first version of my like a film rules course, basically movie rules applied to 3D graphics, which includes composition, lighting, sequencing of shots, etc. So
Cool.
That's what I'll be working on hard next year.
Yeah, great.
Ellen, any other questions?
One is, it's kind of a longer one, but Retef says, what are your takes on incorporating AI art into your 3D workflows? So we can spend the next 2 hours discussing that. And,
Yeah,
Well-
still thinking about it. What to do with the whole subject. Yeah.
I think it's great for inspiration, maybe for like kicking yourself into the creative process, but just for that.
I mean, I'm still looking forward. I saw some demos of people like marking some part of an object and then just generating the missing part of a texture. So anything in this direction, I would love to see to just speed up the workflow. Or maybe you can even like select a part of a model and say like brick texture, and then it's generating a couple of brick textures you can choose from. And of course, it would be awesome if they also generate all the PBR maps in this direction. With all this like image generation stuff, I feel it's a bit problematic. I don't know, when you just have like a ball and a cube and hit generate and it's generating a nice image. I think there's missing the artistic craft.
Yeah.
I mean, we are creating these artworks also to satisfy ourselves, I guess. So this would be too quick.
have some fun in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any courses on GeoNodes?
Yeah, I think this is a problematic area, I feel, because GeoNodes is such a huge topic. You can basically create anything. And I once talked with someone about it. I asked someone if he wants to create a GeoNodes course, and he basically said he's not sure if it's useful because mainly there are some like add-on creators using geometry nodes to put together these nice like generators and stuff, and then the artists are using them. So I think in the daily artist life, geometry nodes probably just plays a smaller role, maybe just for some minor things here and there. But I can totally understand that it's an interesting subject, and I'm still on it, looking out for people maybe doing a course on that at some point. But I'm not capable of doing that because I don't have the deep understanding there. But I think Arendelle just released a new course on geometry nodes. Don't remember where it was.
That's the guy to go to when you want to learn it. Learn the topic of GeoNodes. Or at least I started there, but I'm not really good in geometry nodes.
So I just found it here. It's this one on canopy.games. There you can find this advanced geometry nodes for Blender. But it says advanced, so this might not be an introduction into the whole subject. Not sure. Yeah. All right, we are getting pretty long here. One last question, maybe.
I think
If there's anything.
Tomasz mentions that he meant more like advances in software when combined with AI, and I think amazing things are going to happen for example, on the field of motion capture pretty soon. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, because AI will probably be able to capture quite good quality animations from just a video. So there's a lot of tools already, but I think it's going to get better and better.
I'm also very sorry to bring up another thing, but I'm also very curious about, once we all can generate so much image with AI, was oversaturate, and then will I find a new way to make art special? Will we all just go back to clay modeling with hands, like an AI can't do this? Or, I don't know. That's too big of a subject, anyways.
Yeah, like Tomasz said, that if you're utilizing all these changes, updates of the, so slowly sticking with the previous workflows you had. I mean, here on CG Boost, like for our courses, we try to keep everything like with free tools, and this means that's not always like the best and quickest workflows. So when it makes sense, we try, of course, to implement new techniques, especially when it makes our life easier and for the students. But yeah, at the moment, we are kind of sticking to the old-fashioned way, I guess. Since like we want to teach people to learn to create stuff in 3D, and saying here, take this AI tool, generate stuff, it's not how it works here. So you can do this when you have a better understanding of everything, but that's not our job here, I think.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right, I think that's pretty much it for today. It was a long live stream. Thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks to the team, Alan, and especially Jan for joining in. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
And
thank you.
you can find Jan's stuff on blendersecrets.org or Blender Secrets here on YouTube. I think we also have a link down below in the video description. Amazing short Blender tutorials. And yeah, I hope we see you guys in the next challenge. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay,
Bye,
bye-bye.
everybody. Thank you.